All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Network. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. We're going to be talking Detroit Lions football with Morgan Cannon from Pride of Detroit. How's it going tonight, man?
It's going well, man. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, talking some Detroit Lions. It's an exciting team coming into this season. Second year in a row, we're excited about this team. First time in a while. So looking forward to jumping into the questions here with you. But before we do that, just remind everybody, please hit that subscribe button, that like button, leave those comments. We love to hear from you. And jump over to fantasysixpack.net and become an all-access member. You get access to the award-winning rankings, our draft cheat sheet, the player projections, and a whole lot more. Plus, during the season, the DFS and the betting content kicks in for the NFL, and that's where it's at. Use promo code F6P Pods, and you'll save 15%. All right, Morgan, let's jump right into things here, starting with the quarterback. Is he looking like Jared Goff, that is? Is he looking like the same guy under new offensive coordinator, John Morton, as he did with Ben Johnson?
Yeah, and I guess the thing to set the table a little bit is so Johnny Moe was on the staff in 2022, which was the first year that Dan Campbell fully had Ben Johnson being the offensive coordinator from the beginning of the season. So Johnny Morton was there. That messes me up too because I'm a '90s baby. If you remember Johnny Morton, the receiver for the Lions back in the day.
I
Um,
do.
yeah, so Johnny Moe was there in 2022 when they installed a lot of this offense the way that Dan wanted it installed back then. So the continuity is going to be there. I do think there will be a small transition just with him as a play caller, just feeling things out. I think that's a little bit of a field position. But other than that, I think with Goff, it's going to be more of the same, especially after, I don't know if you heard, we're on Twitter today when the Lions they had joint practices with the Dolphins. Dolphins are in town, and apparently it was a thorough butt whooping on both sides of the ball. Like multiple beat reporters were like, "I haven't seen a joint practice that lopsided ever." So pretty crazy, and a lot of that was Goff to St. Brown, from what I understand.
Nice. Good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's jump back in. Let's jump over to the running game here. David Montgomery coming back healthy after getting injured late in the year. Gibbs really took over and saw a huge workload late in the season. Fully expected them just trying to roll into the playoffs and go win a Super Bowl. David Montgomery was, usually the guy that he split with. Is it going to get back to the same split, or did the Lions see something last year that they're going to go, you know what, we're going to keep giving Gibbs a bunch more touches than Montgomery, and he can just, be like a secondary piece at this point?
No, I feel you, and it's a good pivot from the. That's why I'm so confident in Goff is because I'm so confident in this running game, partially too, and the success with what they can do off of play action, and those condensed formations that everybody's running now, where things are real tight. They're
Mhm.
gonna. I expect to see a lot of that. So with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs running out of those is going to be nice because the Lions have the personnel to do that. I still think it's going to be close to 50-50. I know that's going to kill a lot of people just because I think they're going to want to keep Gibbs fresh for those games in January should they get there. Or they're like, hey, we need to win this game, so you're going to get 30 touches. Cool. You know what I mean? So I do
Right.
think it'll be a lot of still like dang near 50-50 if I had to guess through most of the regular season.
Yeah, Gibbs is he's going really high up in draft boards, and I get the talent is there, but that question mark with Montgomery is for sure a concern for me. I have taken him high, but he did slip into the middle of the first instead. So um, jumping back into the passing game, obviously you already mentioned Amon Ra. He's the baller. He's the go-to guy there. Is Jameson Williams going to get an increased workload? We finally saw him sort of break out a little bit last year, but it felt like there's still room to go with him. Is Johnny Morton getting him some looks there, some more looks than he has before?
So Johnny Morton's talked, quite a bit about everything being matchup based. He wants to get people isolated, which that screams to me you need to turn up Jameson Williams like target allotment just a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
the man averaged it was like over 17 yards a reception last year, which is absurd, for 1,000 yards. So just a really really impressive season from that standpoint. And I think Jameson's commented a couple times, like Morton's gotten him running a full route tree, which is scary because now he's running these snappy, crisp routes where back in the day the attention to detail wasn't there. But being around Amon-Ra, it makes you like tune in a little bit more just because that guy's so surgical, man. He's like with JMO, I think they're going to try to turn those targets up just a little bit, but then pivoting into Amon, he's like Kobe out there, just with like the psychotic way he just approaches things and just dismantles people. So I want people to keep that in mind because I'm super high on Jameson Williams, but make no mistake about it, it's not like the targets aren't going to come from Amon-Ra, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're thinking JMO is going to get a bunch more, like seeing uptick in targets, we already saw how that affected his return, affected LaPorta last year after a phenomenal rookie season from LaPorta. Can he have a bounce back year if we're expecting JMO to get even more work?
I think so, because if I put it in a numerical order, I still think it goes Saint, and then Jameson, and then third in terms of targets would be Sam, in my opinion. Heard a lot of good things, seen a couple, like I've gone to a couple practices. He looks really good. Like even Brian Branch has a tough time guarding Sam LaPorta sometimes, and y'all know how good Brian Branch is at everything, really. I mean, it's just a football player. But I do think Sam will bounce back a bit, just because I think they're going to make it a point, like I talked about with Jameson. I think they're going to make it a point to get him his targets, and because he's cooking people, and you guys know there's so many mouths to feed, but in Detroit, but at the same time, it makes for good matchups because you can't double everybody.
Yeah, I wonder, at least from a fantasy standpoint, if we worry outside of, let's say, Amon-Ra, and I would say Gibbs to some degree, is there a bit worry about consistency week to week about these guys performing, at least from a fantasy standpoint? NFL standpoint, fine, they'll be awesome. But from a fantasy standpoint, is it going to be a bit of a guessing game as to who's getting the ball that week? And then like you get some sort of dud games from them on your team if they're in your starting lineup.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. And
Sorry, that was a curveball, man. I didn't give that one to you.
No, I like that because it's an easy answer for me. If you want to go safe Lions players, I'll give you 2. 14, so Amon-Ra, and then 0, which is now Jahmyr. Those 2, they're gonna get theirs in my opinion, both touches and production, just because they're so both of those guys are all pro caliber players. But with JMO, Sam, LaPorta, and then like even Monty, that could fluctuate on a week-to-week basis, like you're saying. Like there could be some monster games, and then there could be games where JMO has like 2 catches for 18 yards. You know what I mean? So I think there will be fluctuation there. But the 2 I would say will be the most consistent week to week are Jahmyr and Amon-Ra.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's how it's going in drafts right now. Gibbs is early first, so mid first, and then Amon-Ra can go mid to late first. I've seen him drop into the early second, but that's pretty rare. So I guess overall encompassing of this offense, just because Ben Johnson leaving is a big deal. And we kind of led with that a little bit, but overall, do you just see this offense humming just as it did last year and the year before with Ben Johnson and they're running, or is it going to take us a bit of a step back?
I don't honestly see a step back, and it's just because, like, even Ben Johnson, when he was leaving for Chicago, he had made a comment. He was like, "Look, man, everything there is built. You just have to have someone there calling the plays, essentially, someone pulling the levers." Just because it's so talent rich, even from an offensive line standpoint. Like, there wasn't a question on that, and I know it's not fantasy specific, but for the Lions, it all starts up there, and they're starting 2 young guards, so Tate Ratledge at right guard, presumably, and then Christian Mahogany, a second-year guard at left guard. Graham's going to be back at center, So, people have been like, oh, that might be shaky. To be honest, I feel like that's going to run right along, even after the retirement of Frank Ragnow, who was an all-pro. But it's just how high I am on Sewell and some of these guys, another first-team all-pro. So I say all that to say I don't really see them taking a step back. There could be a little bit of an adjustment period, like the first couple of weeks, but the talent's just too rich, in my opinion. And to be honest, the offense was like that last year. The first 3 weeks, they were like averaging we weren't really scoring the football, and then it started exploding when they were beating the crap out of teams like 50-6 on a couple of those weeks in a row. So, yeah, I don't see there being a big step back. I know Ben is a big deal. I'm not one to poo-poo on that or try to make light of it. Ben's a brilliant football mind, but yeah, Dan, make no mistake about it. I think people think Campbell is just a little bit of a rah-rah guy. He's a tight end, man, a pro. And as we know, those guys make really good coaches because they got to know everything, passing, running, like blocking, all of it. They got to know it all. So make no mistake about it. It's a Dan Campbell offense, but Johnny Moe's pulling the levers and hitting the switches,
Yeah, I love me some Dan Campbell, man. I think he's fantastic. So the last question we ask everybody who comes onto these is, in camp, have you seen any player that maybe, we typically wouldn't think about for this team, who's impressed you that we as fantasy managers should just keep in the back pocket for, the season?
So you guys probably know who I'm going to say if you know about the Lions draft class at all, but it's Isaac Tisla. Big. He's like 6'4", 210, 215. He's a big body. The Lions do have a long-term need at the X in their offense right now because you got Saint at the Y. J-Mo is a great Z, perfect Z to complement Saint, to be honest. And they have Tim Patrick, who's a dependable veteran, but Tisla's been turning heads in camp, man. He blocks his butt off. Like he's like Jameson and Saint. Like he's out there head hunting, which Dan Campbell, I could tell you, is going to love. They very much, that whole room, the receiver room under Scotty Montgomery now, it's all about no block, no rock, man. If you don't block, you're not getting the ball. So they all buy into that. And Tisla, like he had that high point catch against the Falcons last week in the preseason. That was a beauty. Toe tapped it. Had a 4th down conversion where he set up the end breaker perfectly, which it was going to be a big learning curve because he was like some sort of wildcat quarterback at like Hillsdale, which is a small school in Michigan. Then he was a receiver at Arkansas. And so he's still pretty new to the position. So, but that's someone, if you can get him late and stash him and he starts cooking towards the middle, late part of the season, I feel like that's probably pretty good value, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to stash guys, but in shallower leagues, but absolutely somebody I will keep an eye on. I've got my co-owner for the site, Dave Eddy, is a huge Lions fan, and he was chirping in my ear all weekend at drafts, like, you gotta go get this guy, you gotta go get this guy. So you guys are right on the same page with that. So, all right, man, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. This has been great. Before we close out, though, give you a chance to plug yourself, let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on.
Yeah, if you're looking for more Lions content, I do write at prideofdetroit.com. We're the SB Nation affiliate for the Lions. Do really, really great stuff there. Jeremy Reisman, Eric Schlitt. There's a bunch of people that do a lot of good work. And then, yeah, check us out on YouTube too for more Lions content with me and my boy Miko Scott, Pride of Detroit at YouTube. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Joe. Had a good time, and I want it to be September, man. It's only August 13th.
Yeah, man. I feel you. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. And make sure you tune into these videos that'll be popping up right here on the screen. It's a playlist of all these 32 team videos. That's where it's at, man. All right. See you next time.